Hello and welcome. We'll start with Ukraine. The US says Russia's military buildup near Ukraine is larger than that of 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. A Pentagon spokesman has called the deployment of Russian troops deeply concerning, urging Moscow to clarify its intentions. Ukraine's foreign minister has meanwhile been urging the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to offer Kiev more military support. On Monday, the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, cited a figure of 150,000 Russian soldiers gathered along Ukraine's eastern border and in annexed Crimea, a figure since revised to around 100,000. But he warned it would take only a spark to set off a confrontation in the region, where Kiev estimates more than 14,000 people have died in fighting since 2014. The military buildup has sparked fears of an imminent escalation in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk and Luhansk regions, where government forces have been battling Russian-backed separatists since 2014. You can see the area marked in turquoise where the first incursions were made. A ceasefire was negotiated in 2015 but remains at best fragile. Well, Russia has denied that it's preparing for war, but says it is prepared to act to protect Russian speakers in rebel-held parts of eastern Ukraine. For The View from Ukraine's capital, Kiev, here's the BBC's Jonah Fisher.
We've just come back from a trip to eastern Ukraine, to the front line. The overwhelming impression one gets from speaking to soldiers there and also politicians here in the capital, Kiev, is that Ukrainians simply don't know what Russia is playing at here. They've, of course, seen the reports of this build-up along the border, on the Russian side of the border, some estimates putting the number of Russian troops at well over 100,000 and equipment that goes with that. I think many Ukrainians are hoping that this is a test of some sort, a test of Ukraine's resolve, and in particular the resolve of Ukraine's Western allies and partners, how far they will go to back up Ukraine. There is, of course, the nagging fear in the back of people's minds that this is something more sinister, that Russia hasn't just put these troops on the border for a military exercise. It's been saying that something else is planned, possibly even an invasion of Ukraine. So that is certainly in the back of people's minds, though I think many people are hoping that this is a case of Russia flexing its muscles rather than preparing for all-out war.
Ukraine's Army Commander-in-Chief has held a meeting at the UK Ministry of Defence here in London to discuss these deepening tensions between Kiev and Moscow. For more on that, I've been speaking to Ukraine's ambassador to the UK, Vadim Prystaiko.
My Chief of Defence came on a visit here. He is meeting right now, right away, with your Chief of Defence and with Secretary of Defence. We're trying to bring up our British colleagues to what actually is going on in Ukraine. And this is a part of the regular dialogue. We have this dialogue on many years, but as you can imagine, the particular one, today's, is very much influenced by the recent build-up of Russian forces around Ukraine. So in this time of need, we are reinforcing our partnerships. We are reinforcing our alliances. So we're trying to get what can be done in most of the support, political support, but also some equipment is very much needed for Ukraine right now.
And in terms of political support, EU foreign ministers at their meeting on Monday said they weren't contemplating any new sanctions against Moscow.
We're here in post-Brexit UK, which is with the global ambitions to get back and play the independent role. That's why our Chief of Defence, not in Brussels today, but in London. And we are working here right now to understand what sort of sanctions can be done, what all of us can do before the war will spill over the Ukraine and will go further to European Union. That is the worst scenario we can foresee, but that's what we have to fight against right now, right here in this capital, in Washington, D.C., in many other capitals.
What sort of sanctions do you think might be effective?
So far, sanctions were effective. There are many theories why Russians are not actually going all attack, just building up. And I like the theory that at least the North Pipe, this second part of the northern pipeline is not finished yet. They might not take this political risk. As soon as it is finished, they will have their hands untied. This is sort of sanctions we are talking right now here as well. It's not the full extent, but this is one of the things we were discussing right now.
And on the ground, your foreign minister has been quoted in Ukrainian media saying Your country is ready to repel Russian aggression, political, diplomatic and military. How?
We estimate that 100,000, which you mentioned before, it's not enough to go against our much more reinforced, invigorated military. Our military is not what was in 2014, so the losses on both sides would be probably enormous. And we hope that Putin also understands in his calculations that is not the news he'd like to bring to the Russian families. We will defend our nations ourselves. We need some help, but we eager to put up the real fight.
So how would you describe your state of readiness?
We are at highest alert, but you can understand our nation. We've been in this war for 7 years in a row. We'd like to get out of this stalemate. We don't want to fight with anybody, one of the P5 or nuclear nations included.
Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Vadim Prystaiko.